Treaty 9 was signed in 1905-1906 between Ojibwe, Cree, and Algonquin nations, and the Crown represented by 2 commissioners appointed by Canada and 1 commissioner appointed by Ontario. The treaty-making process involved representatives of the Crown, including the Prime Minister Sir Wilfrid Laurier, and various officials from the Department of Indian Affairs, as well as Indigenous leaders and representatives of the Cree and Ojibwe nations. The treaty covers the James Bay and Hudson's Bay watersheds in Ontario, about 2/3 of the province's total landmass. The signing of the treaty was a complex and contested process, and not all of the Indigenous peoples in the region were represented or involved in the negotiations. The Treaty 9 commissioners repeatedly presented 3 oral promises to the First Nations about what would happen if the First Nations signed the treaty. These promises were not recorded in the written treaty document. The cumulative effect of these oral promises is to guarantee that the right of the Treaty 9 First Nations to continue to hunt and pursue their traditional livelihoods would not be altered or diminished in any way. The commissioners relied heavily on interpreters to communicate with the Indigenous peoples, and there were significant differences in language and culture that made communications difficult. While the treaty was presented as a fair and mutual beneficial agreement, it was heavily skewed in favor of the Canadian government and did not adequately reflect Indigenous perspectives or concerns. The Treaty 9 agreement contained a provision that guaranteed the Indigenous peoples of Northern Ontario the right to hunt and fish on the land. However, the treaty also limited this right to unoccupied lands and was subject to government regulation. This restriction posed a significant challenge to Indigenous ways of life, as hunting and fishing were essential for their diet and cultural practices. Indigenous peoples and the communities within Treaty 9 are fighting for their right to this day. Chiefs from 10 of the Treaty 9 communities announced they are launching a lawsuit to fundamentally change the way resource and land management decisions are made in the region. The Ring of Fire is a mining development located in the James Bay lowlands, which is home to several First Nations communities. The First Nations argued that the development would violate their rights under Treaty 9, which guaranteed them the right to hunt, fish, and gather on their traditional lands.